Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Hermitcraft with Zoomy Face. Hi, I'm zooming in. Hi, how's it? What's going on? Hi. That's right, we've got Zoom because I've installed Optifine, which means the game will run slightly smoother and hopefully your viewing experience will be improved. I'll tell you what though, I love this zoom look. Like, I don't know why, but the blocks just look a little bit more interesting when you zoom in sometimes. I love the views it creates. Very cool stuff. Our base here is looking amazing, isn't it? And I want to finish this wall over here by the end of the episode. That's our plan. And then we'll be left with two things to do for this floor. Something in that corner over there, something in that corner over there, because we've done this one. And, well, actually, we've only done a part of this, I guess, because then it leads somewhere else in this direction, doesn't it? Our base will forever need something doing. I'll never finish this ceiling off. Look at that. There's some slabs missing. That's terrible. I must fix that this episode. Let's go and check out what I've been doing over here. And as we walk over there, I want to say an absolute massive thank you for all of the support, wonderful feedback and comments on the last episode. I decided to do a little bit of singing at the beginning of the episode. If you didn't see it, link in the description box. First link is the playlist for the Season 5 season. You can use that to get to the last episode. Make sure you go and see it, because once I got the idea in my head that I can make a funny little song, I had to do it. I recorded the guitar, I sung as well, and the feedback was just wonderful. I'm glad you all enjoyed it. I've also made a video on my second channel, which I will again put a link to in the description box, where I show you all of the equipment that I use to record that and how I went about recording it. So if that interests you, link is in the description box. Another reason to subscribe to the second channel. But let's get back to what we're doing right here in front of me. You can see I've built another storage system, okay? Another one. I know, it was always the plan. It is actually the same as this one over here, except instead of being, is that 8 wide, this one is only 5 wide. And the plan for this storage system was that it was going to be 3 wide and it was going to support 18 shulker boxes. Well, I've expanded it so it can support more shulker boxes than what's in our ender chest over here. The plan is to fill up this entire thing basically with shulker boxes and make building and just playing in general, you know, so much easier, because we're going to have access to so many more things inside of this chest. And then that means that when we come back after working on a project, we got loads of shulker boxes full of random items. We slap them into this system. They sort through the shulker boxes first, then they go into bulk storage, then they do the dyes and the walls, and then finally they go into this storage over here. It's a crazy big system, and my plan was to get it done straight away. It's taken me some time, but we'll be doing this one today. And it's, as I said, the same setup as that one. However, when I built this one, I copied it from one that had been flipped around, and this time I copied it from the tutorial example. That made building this so much simpler. So you can see crazy torches, redstone going on everywhere. I don't need to explain this, but what I do have in my inventory is my storage sticks, because the next thing I've got to do is set up the filtering system, as of course this one uses these sticks in like every other hopper or every other dropper to block the system from something. They're important, trust me, these sticks are important. So putting these sticks into the system isn't going very well, because I didn't build this bit here at the end. Oh, what a derp. So I ripped the cobblestone off the front because I needed to access every single one of these inventories right here, the hoppers and the droppers, because that kind of messed the whole thing up, and I put in an item to get sorted and it worked very slow. And there's actually a piece of rogue cobblestone in there as well, so I pulled all of these back out and now we're going to put them in again because I'm doing the setup process. So what you do is you lock this hopper here, you chuck your sticks in at the front here, and then they go into the system, and when they come back into this chest, rather than going around again, which is what this is for, this bit here is locked, so then you know that they're in the system correctly. And now you can see it's actually going at the correct speed. Look at that, everything's moving nice and fast. You see this blinking? That's kind of a really bad sign. So everything was fine. I just put a single piece of diorite in here and it whizzed its way all the way across to this chest at the end here, which was excellent. That's exactly what it's supposed to do. Then everything started blinking again, which means somewhere here there's probably like one little torch or redstone or repeater timing that is slightly off, because after an item goes through the system, the sticks start rotating them around again. And there's also 2 that get caught up in here, which I'm not too sure about. That didn't look very good. Yeah, something is wrong, and it means I got to empty the entire system again. So we can rejoice now, as I believe this is complete and done. There was another little problem with it, which makes me think that actually there wasn't a problem with it in the first place. The way that I thought I fixed it was by adding these 3 blocks here with a repeater, and that looked optional in the tutorial. Apparently this might help speed it up or something like that. Our system over there doesn't have that, and when I did this it worked, but I also changed the way that I tested this. I put in a lot more items, as the first time I just put in a single item. Now I was up here breaking blocks and I think one fell and landed on this hopper right here, and one item got sorted through the system, and it took a very long time, and I believe when you sort a single item it will take much longer than when you sort a group of items, which sounds kind of strange, but that's how this thing works for you. Anyway, we can move on to the looks and the aesthetics now. You see these blocks right here? I believe over on the other side they are actually crafting benches, and we're pretty much going to replicate the other side over here. At the beginning I had all of that cobblestone surrounding the hoppers, and that's because they were placeholders for where I was going to put blocks and decorate this thing, but the more I thought about it, the more I just wanted it to look like that one over there. However, it will look unique with all of those shulkers instead of chests, you know. Right, and we also need one just there, don't we? Okay, so over on that side what we have is a whole bunch of droppers that I believe are facing upwards. However, it's kind of irrelevant because they're actually there just for aesthetics, and then I've got that block above my head. And I didn't even need to destroy it, did I? Because it technically wasn't in the way. So that's going to line up. I accidentally didn't place it well. This should line up just like the other side does. So let's take a step back and see. Behind those... Oh no, the stairs are above the chests over there. So I placed those the wrong way around. But behind where the lamp is where the dropper is. Okay, and then in front of it you're going to have this, which will end up on top of the crafting bench. So the big difference here is that the shulkers are just going to be more inset. You know what I mean? They're going to be level with these droppers at the front instead of poking out like the other one does. And we'll also see it like this a lot because we're going to be taking these shulkers down and putting them back up again, which means these 2 blocks right here need to be filled in. And I'm probably going to grab some glowstone, but since I don't have some right now, it will look like that, and it means when we break the shulkers they don't fall down into the redstone. Oh, it's looking good, it's looking good. So that's going to be this system. I'll finalize all of this, and then what we'll do is we'll put like some sort of border over here on the side, and that will create like space for a room where we're going to do another project. But while I remember, I do want to do a poll this episode. I've got a question that I want to ask you. It's kind of an easy one to answer, but you might have to think about it. Just on average, when do you watch an episode of Hermitcraft? The options are going to be in terms of hours. Like, do you watch it within the first hour that it's released, or the first 24 hours, or does it take you a day or 2 days to get around to watching it? I'm just kind of curious, because every time I go and I look at my video manager, I always notice the old episodes of Hermitcraft like ticking up views ever so slightly. So I'm kind of curious, so feel free to answer if you want to, and that information will probably be useful to you. I don't know, I think it's just going to satisfy my curiosity more than anything. I was about to say, there it is, it's done, and I kind of realised that I haven't done the path at the front, but we can come back to that later on. This is looking great though. I've just filled in all of the space up above, as you can sort of see from down here. And where I really want to see it from now is somewhere over there. One thing I do want to point out though, I think this is like 1 block closer in terms of how far away all of this is from the path. And in the past I pointed out how much stuff like that nags me. You just gotta let it go, because otherwise you're gonna spend hours rebuilding this. This has actually taken me a really long time because I did loads of that building before I even started recording, and from over here, man, it looks so good. I think I actually like that it's a little bit closer to the edge, you know. Probably helps differentiate it from the other side. But anyway, we're going to move on from this now because, as you may have seen on the channel, and again, another thing for you to check out with a link in the description box, is an episode that I loaded a couple of days ago. And I just said episode. Me and my words. I tell you, it's time for some zoomy face. No. Me and my words. I uploaded a video of the Hermitcraft Advancement Pack, and it's been added to the server here, and I have done none of these yet, and I would like to do one of the Asuma challenges. Now, I probably should have prepped before I started to record and figure out where exactly I am on this list, because it might take us a moment to actually find my challenge. Anyway, if you want to install this pack in your world, go check out the video that I was on about that's in the description box down below. There are all of these custom advancements now. The first one is called Embrace the Void. Don't be afraid of void damage. In this episode, I'm going to show you exactly how you get this advancement, and you can probably tell how we get the second one as well. I think I might skip that one because I've already been killed by Johnny. But anyway, it's time for us to take a trip over to the end dimension. I'm not going to lie, I'm super nervous right now. The reason why is because we could die. We could very much die right now. What we have to do is embrace the void. And the void is down there. It is below 0 in the world. And somewhere down there you can take damage. What we have to do to get this advancement, and if you don't want spoilers, you want to figure them out for yourself, you kind of already know where to go, so you could tune out if you wanted to, but I think you probably got it already. We need to take damage from the void, okay, and then we need to survive, although the survival bit isn't technically necessary, but I've only got 3 deaths on this server, and I would like to keep that number down, so we're going to put everything into this shulker box, because we don't want to lose our items. I've got my wings on my back, and we got some rockets, which means we're kind of ready to go here. So I've given myself a second to think about this. We're going to keep our eye on the Y value, and as soon as I start taking damage, that's when I'm going to pull up and use the rocket. Now, which one is level 3? Right, we're going to use the level 3 rocket. Okay, so we're approaching 0, and I'm not sure when you start taking damage. Oh my god, this is very scary. And now I'm starting to disappear. 15, 20, no damage yet. 30. We're at 40. Goodness me, we're under the world, sort of. 60? Oh, 64. Rocket up. Oh, okay. So I had another thought in my mind as well. Did we just fly all the way over to this side? Wow, that was kind of quick. I had another thought in my mind as well, which is that when you start taking void damage, is it underneath the same area that you continue to take it? So as soon as we went above what I think was Y64, we were okay. Python there saying nice. I didn't even pay attention to the pop-up on the screen. Let's press L. Let's find my one. Where am I? Hi, I'd like to see me. There we are. Embrace the void. Don't be afraid of the damage. It's actually quite... Oh, avoid damage. It's quite obvious what you have to do. Villagers are villagers are far from harmless. If you saw any of the episodes we did towards the end of the last season, you'll know what that's about. And I'm going to wrap things up here by trying to land on this rail. Which is kind of difficult when you're in F5. It's a little bit easier when you're just facing the normal way. Now, DocM made a comment about this rail over here, and I actually checked this when we built the rail. It is exactly 1 block over from where that spawning platform is. It is above the carpet that you see right there. This means that this rail in no way whatsoever affects that farm. Now, it used to be that chunks could affect it, so everything within this space right here might have been affected, but that is no longer the case. So when it comes to things spawning very fast because it's low down in the world, this rail is not affecting that, and I just want to make that clear. And I think I did. So yeah, let's get out of here, man. That was a really, really fun advancement. I'm very glad that we did that. This is starting to look real good now. We got a little bit of a problem here though with some chests that are in the way. I'm going to move that stuff. In fact, I'm going to do a lot of item sorting because all of these are full up. They need to go into that system. And then we need to make up all of the shulker boxes, which are going to go between our ender chest and all of this area up here. It's going to be very interesting. I've sorted out the front though, so all of this now links around to the other side. And we got 2 openings. I'm going to be building a room on each side, and we'll come back to that in just a moment. There is a couple of things that I've done here. And one thing I wanted to mention is that this thing doesn't lag in the slightest when it runs, and that's because I got Optifine installed, but on vanilla it will be a little bit shaky. And I believe I was supposed to make something as well. Yes, so I'm going to need some more of these droppers. So you can see here there's a bit of a gap where you can sort of see through and see what's going on in the back. I think that's going to be unavoidable for the most part, although actually you don't really get to see anything through here. I think it might literally just be this gap on the corner, and possibly when we fill this in there's still a bit more of a gap because there's less redstone going on. But I am actually going to add some of these right here just to fill in that visual effect, and they might get power to make clicky noises or something like that. I'm not really sure. Another thing I've done back here, by the way, is adjusted the redstone. So you can see now there's this little extra bit right here that I've added. This wasn't here before, and it means that this chest can be 1 block higher, because I looked at what we'd done over there and I thought, this one's a little bit lower. And yeah, it has some extra redstone. So now it will go and bring the items to this spot, and you can see it looks very nice and clean. And over on this side, we are actually going to be unloading shulker boxes into this system. So we've got a hopper here to dump a shulker box on it, and originally I put the lever here, and then I thought, oh no, put it over there. Now that I look at it, that's in the way where you put the shulker box. And ideally, we'd probably like more hoppers than that. So I'm thinking that this room right here might also have a little something on the side, and what we'll do is put some hoppers over here that lead down into that chest, and that way we can unload items into the system, although I believe this now might be controlled by this extra bit of redstone here. There's a little bit of a tangle and a challenge right there that we've got to figure out, but for now we're going to focus on sorting out the ender chests for this, and luckily for me I still have loads of ender chests, or the parts to make them, left over from our adventures in the end, which I'm sure we're going to do more of in the future. Look at that, that's going to be more than enough for what we need. It certainly was, and this right here is what we're looking at. 21 shulker boxes, because this one is just full of seeds and it doesn't need to be there. Obviously we can sort a lot more as well, so if we need more materials for projects, but otherwise this is really great, the materials that I put into here. And I actually went over to a patron's base on my patron server and had a look through their system, because they've done something very similar, and that helped me just kind of categorize all of these, which also made me realize how useful it is to have a video or a resource that will show you what you need to put inside of these chests, right? Because it takes a long time to think about everything. So as I'm flicking through here, you might see from me, I'm going to go over everything that I've done here and do another video on the ender chest. A long time ago, I sat down and I thought, you know, you've only got so many spaces inside of the ender chest. What would be the most useful stuff to get the most out of your ender chest at any time? And that video was extremely well received. And since then I had lots of requests to say, hey, why don't you do that again but show us with shulker boxes? And my thought was, well, you got so much space now, there's not a lot to explain. And to be fair, that's kind of right, because, you know, you've got tons of space, you can put everything in here. But that still needs a little bit of thought and organisation. So you might see that from me in the future. As you can see here, I haven't had all of the materials available to me, like the glass, all the different colours, but I've organised them pretty well, and these are all the things that we're going to be able to carry around with us all of the time, which I think is just superb. Obviously this one right here technically doesn't apply to this system, because you have to leave an item behind each time you use one of these, so that one won't go back into the system. This one over here, you see it says foodstuffs. Well, you know, I've emptied some of these into other ones. What we're going to do is rename all of these now as well, and this is like the miscellaneous one where I've got bits that didn't fit into other chests. And I think if there were a couple more I'd want to make, it would maybe be a second redstone box and also a second builder's box like this one is here. The other thing is that we didn't use the full range of colour, and I didn't do it like last season where I put them in a colour palette pattern, you know. And I think I'm just going to keep it that way. However, I might be encouraged at certain points to maybe change some of these up. Like, which one of these three could possibly be grey? I mean, glass I could... White makes the most sense. Maybe the iron I'll put as a light grey or something like that. But for now, I'm going to rename them all one by one. We're all done now. I've rearranged the order of these, I've thrown in a few more colours, and there's one additional box here, which is this one for concrete. As we get more concrete powders, I'll put them in there. Also allows us to have a little bit of sand and gravel on hand as well, and that's pretty cool. Oh yeah, and the renaming system as well. We've numbered these so they can stay in order, which will help me get used to where the things I are in the system. And the next step is obviously to tear that down and put it all inside of the ender chest. This thing needs a little bit of reorganizing as well, right? But now we can move on to the rooms that we're doing on either side, and they're going to be small projects. We're going to start with the easy one first of all, which is going to be a bedroom. So here's a feature I forgot about. Ah, you remember that one? Dynamic lighting? Let's throw that on the ground. Oh yeah, one of the perks of having Optifine. These are actually supposed to go in the ground. I'm going to put these at the bottom of the bed as a nice hidden light source. And our bed, you saw it there, going to be made out of the new coloured beds. This is the first time I've actually crafted these in Survival Minecraft. Bam! There you go. That's going to be like our beds. We're going to have some bookshelves on either side. And then over here we're going to have a sound system. Right now my head is bubbling with ideas, and I've just smelted up some terracotta. Some glazed terracotta. How are we going to do this? I'm going to face that way, and then I'm going to face the opposite way. And I've got no idea how this is going to look, so I might rebuild that. they all sort of, no, they're not actually facing the same way. Maybe that's the wrong pattern to use there, but I'll try and rearrange that so that corner like faces down there, and then it'll probably look pretty cool. So yeah, we've got a painting there as well. So we're going to put a sound system over on this side, and I actually want this thing to, I think, be indented a little bit, like it goes back into here. So we're going to put these in on either side for the speakers. I want to put a row of slabs across the top. Then I want to have like a desk, and at the back here I'm going to put a couple of records on display. So behind these I wanted to put bone blocks, so there's a little bit of white so it can pop out, and then just a record on either side, right? Put one there, put one over here, grab the buttons for the speakers. That I really like, but obviously we need to put something right in the middle here. This looks really cool and colourful from a distance, and I'm having a blast just picking out materials from here. I realise though it's all kind of useful at the moment because it's all very relevant in my mind what's available, and over here I'm just sort of figuring out what to do with this space, and I thought, why don't we make a record collection up here? We've got a couple of discs down here, we've got some more that we could put up the top, and the thing with this is I think you can put those together in a corner. Yeah, it's not too often I use item frames, especially like that. And now we can have an entire record collection up here, which is pretty awesome. Seems my calculations were a little bit short. We're missing 2. However, I was thinking it's kind of nice that they're not all filled in actually. Just adds a little bit of variety, which is what we want. Also, yeah, this. I came up with that. Moved it up a little bit, put the pattern all the way around. It's nice, but the problem is the wither doesn't really fit this pattern right, and I think actually we'll probably be better changing that over to some darker terracotta, which we'll probably do another time. I am so happy with this build. It is not finished, and I know that this orange material doesn't please everyone, but I'm just happy with what I've come up with here. It's really cool. And I think actually what I probably want to do is hang up like a couple of mini paintings, like the 1x1s on these blocks perhaps, or something else in here. Feels like it's lacking, maybe a flower pot over here. But at the back there I thought, wouldn't it be cool to put a window and have a view? And that doesn't actually look like a window, nor is there a view. So we'd have to make an artificial view. And then I started thinking about what things we could put back there: water, lily pads, sugarcane. I reckon actually maybe what we should do is a fish tank, but we're going to save that one for another day because there are all sorts of little jobs that I've forgotten about here. One of them is Redstoney. This chest here for items coming out is actually not going to be used. We will keep it there for symmetry reasons, or possibly do something with redstone where the items go here first and then we let them go off to the next set area. But we need to run some hoppers from somewhere around there over to the back here and then through an item elevator to hook it up to that point. And then there's also this corner right here, which is actually going to be our nether portal corner. And I realised that we are slowly cutting into this space with this stuff right here, which gave me a really crazy idea for a nether portal, like something that's, I don't know, just different. And it means I've got to mine a lot of obsidian, so I'm going to go and do that for a little bit. So we're now going to sort out that corner as well, and we will come back over here in a bit and do a project in this area. However, this one's going to be pretty quick and not as interesting. I say that, but people, I've lied to you. I've lied to you 3 times, okay? It's actually quite interesting. It's definitely not quick to set this up, and it's actually the first thing we're doing. I haven't done the portal room over there. So we got a furnace array, pretty standard business actually, but squeezing it into this space, oh my was it a challenge. I wanted this thing to be first of all symmetrical and second of all 8 wide, which doesn't work in a 7 wide gap. The reason I want it to be 8 wide is so that you could put a stack of items into this thing and it would split it up automatically, 8 into each one, which means each piece of coal or something like that as fuel would get consumed as whole. So I built this thing higher and lower and to the left and to the right and, you know, rejiggled all of the redstone until I came up with this, which is finally what I want it to be. However, it was a little bit too low. I wanted to cover up all of those hoppers, to be honest, and the furnaces being down here just left this big space. So I put some more up here. These are just manual ones in case you want to do something extra alongside these. And then we got a chest on one side. It was very important that these were symmetrical and visible because of symmetry and how I always talk about trying to get away from thinking like that, and I just do it anyway. So around the back here, what you'll see is we can put items into here. They go through the hoppers, but they won't go into the ones down below until they reach the end, which activates the comparator and unlocks this redstone chain right here. So all the items drop down, and that means one goes into all 8 at a time. So a stack divides into, 8 in each, which is nice and efficient. The next thing I got to do, so it isn't finished quite yet, is put a rail down here. That's going to be for the fuel, which doesn't need to be evenly distributed, as we'll just have loads of it ready to go. And this is just a simple unloading system, so there's going to be a track here to go around. Whenever there's fuel to be sent out, it will get stocked up and off it goes. And I've got a feeling that means the minecart's going to travel back and forth all the time, so I might need to change that. And that's the general idea of the array. I'm pretty happy with how it's turned out. And again, it's 8 wide, so this is going to get filled in eventually. And it will just look like there's 7 of them when actually there's 8. Here's another thought. When this is filled in, you can see the hopper and the furnace. Well, if we want to take symmetry here to the extreme, we could also put a furnace there and then a hopper here, but there is a hopper above it, so clearly it will interfere with all of that. If we shimmy around to the other side though, we'll have space to put a stone block on the other side, so you can't see through there. And, well, I was going to put a lever on this block, because that would power the rail that goes across the back there. That would be smart. But actually we need a block there, and we need that block to be powered. So it doesn't do both at once, but if we power that block, it then locks the hopper and gives us that extra little bit of symmetry. I'm just going to go with it because this project has just been so over the top when it comes to making things look even. And look at that, perfection. So I'm done with this project today. A little bit of tidy up is required down here at the floor. I probably want to make it more interesting than just what's going on over here. And I just got done smelting up some nether brick, okay? When you actually have the nether brick bricks, it gives you the recipe for this, but then it doesn't give you the recipe for the fence until you actually craft it. And we're going to throw down a couple of those in a moment. So I had to modify the redstone over here, and now it's in the way of this area, so that will probably get jiggled around and moved somewhere else at some point. But the basic problem was, when the minecart comes back, it's going to get powered again, I think, because it was on by default. Yeah, that's right. So now it's off until it finishes unloading items. So you put items in there, they're going down into the minecart. You saw that the block over there got retracted. So not until these come out that then that will be powered, and that will send the minecart on its way. And I guess if it comes back here and it's got items still in it, this one requires more thought, doesn't it? It requires more. Well, we're done with that for today, that's for sure. So our furnace project technically isn't finished. Wow, I only just thought of that as soon as I hit recording. Over here, though, this is the idea that I had for the portal for a load of obsidian sort of wind inwards. And I think maybe I didn't let it wind inwards enough. And then I sort of stepped back and looked at it and thought, maybe I've done this wrong. Like, this is a little bit too flat here. So this is another thing that might get redone. And I'll probably do that in a live stream. But I thought, yeah, that we could throw down a couple of fence posts in this area, maybe give it a bit more colour, bit of a darker edge. I've not got a lot of ideas for what other materials we could put alongside the obsidian. Maybe the coal block. I don't know, leave your thoughts down below. If you've got any ideas for materials, what we should change here, let me know, and we can probably make that look a lot better. We got another bit of redstone fixery. Is fixery a word? Can I make it a word? Yeah, we got some more redstone to fix. We're behind the skull, and I made a really bad mistake with this, which is that this only is a rising edge detector, meaning, I think, when this piston goes up, they'll be activated. When it goes down, they simply do not get activated. And I think the only way to do this is to have an observer going directly into that, because otherwise I think if we run it into redstone it might detect the change in signal strength. So this means in both situations where that changes, it will send a signal out. I hope that's correct, because the eyes were only changing once a day, whereas we need to change them when the sun goes up and when the sun goes down. And I believe those repeaters are not necessary. However, I've only got one piece of redstone on me. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move that piece over there, and I accidentally broke that one, and we'll put a repeater there as well. So we got redstone problems over here, and I've got a solution thanks to ETA740 who tweeted me a solution. I actually get tweeted tons of solutions, and this one I thought was correct, and it turns out that it wasn't. Let me explain. When people tweet me stuff, they often forget the position of certain things that I've got lying around here, and so I couldn't actually implement their solution the way they had shown it. However, the principle is implementable. So can you see how we've now got a clock, right, when two of these face each other? If we control one of these with a sticky piston, then we can turn that on and off by moving this up and down. And yes, I'm aware that that's placed sideways and it's rubbish. So we can do that over here. Now, this isn't the way that Ita showed me how to do this, but it's the same principle, really. So they're the wrong way around, but if we move this one up and down, then we can create a clock here. And so if we replace these redstone torches with a block, then we will be able to activate the dispenser above it. So the question then is, can we get a signal to a sticky piston? Now, our sticky piston needs to be at this height because we need to be retracting from where we currently are. We need to pull it down because there's a hopper above. And so I think if we take the signal from that block instead of this one, we can run a repeater and a repeater again, and a repeater pointing into where that air block is will actually power that sticky piston. So I'm going to get that put together. This might be really tricky because in order to place these facing the right way, I might need to rip out some blocks and fiddle things around, if you know what I mean. So that is a promising sign, because when we do this, all of those are getting activated. Terrific. Okay, next step is to lock them all one by... Actually, no, that's not locking them, is it? That's locking them. Nice! Hey, there we go! It's tileable and it works. Makes a piston sound, ain't even bothered. Ain't even bothered by no piston sound. No, seriously, that's not a problem in the slightest, in my opinion. Just thought I'd mention it because I could hear it. Excellent, so that is another little redstone problem solved. It's miserable, it's rainy, but you can't get my spirits down because, hi, I love that zoom key. Today's project has really turned out ever so well. I love seeing all the colourful blocks over here, and using it to work on these projects has been really great. But that is the end of this episode. If you've enjoyed it, please do leave a like, and remember all the things that I talked about. You've got to check out the last episode. You can find links to it in the description box down below. There is an explanation of how I made the song on my second channel, and yeah. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao for now. Bye-bye.